San Diego, Sally, come east, you're overdue a fresh breath of...
Alright, welcome to Nashville Art Makers, and we're doing something really special today. Right now I have songwriter Adam Burrows with us, and we're actually going to do a little talk about his song San Diego, Sally. First of all, I just want to say hi, Adam.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for coming in. Why don't we just talk a little bit about who you are and where you're from. Just kind of tell us a little synopsis. Where are you originally from, Adam, and kind of what brought you to Nashville?
I'm originally from Doylestown, Ohio, a little town outside of Akron, Ohio, and I moved here in 2004, May of 2004.
Okay.
I've been coming down. I had some friends that were going to MTSU, and I've been coming down and staying with them and going to shows, and even hit a few writers' nights while I vacationed down here to see them. And so at the time, it seemed like it was a good place for me because I was doing the most that I could where I was trying to write a lot and trying to make contacts, and so
Back there.
Yeah. So May of 2004. So I came down. I got a job and came down and stayed with some friends for a little bit and just was writing a lot and going out to a lot of shows, and then I started doing playing just a little bit here and there, mainly in Murfreesboro.
Another thing we'll mention too, Adam just released his record, Tall Tales, and that's which record label again?
Me and the Machine.
Me and the Machine Records. Great record, which we will continue to kind of talk about in this interview. But you came to Nashville, began performing out, and eventually got the opportunities, whether financially and people seeing you and whatnot, was able to make this record.
Sure. And
get involved with this record label. But the really key thing I want to touch on, obviously, is the songwriting part. Adam, you're a great performer. Anybody that's ever seen Adam perform, either by himself or with his people who accompany him, always does a wonderful job and really can sell the spirit of the songs. But as a songwriter, there's always all that other stuff behind what creates a song, what brings that out of us. And so the song we're focusing on today is San Diego, Sally, which is on the record. And I guess before we go right into that song, give me an idea of like when you first started writing songs.
Okay.
And maybe just a couple, sort of influences that really kind of started to guide you in that direction.
Sure. I think I've always been experimented with words and poems, and my mother wrote poetry in it, so I was sort of interested in it. When I was probably 16, 17, I grew up going to church, and we formed a little band and started playing, little youth group events and things of that nature. So I think at that point I started to become more interested in songwriting, and just always had a few lines I was working on here and there, As far as influences, there's just so much. A lot of the singer-songwriter stuff over the past 8 to 10 years now, that's sort of taken my main interest. But before that, I remember loving Springsteen when I was younger, and I remember loving, and there were even in like contemporary Christian music, there was a guy, Rich Mullins, who I loved some of his lyrics. And I grew up, going to those types of shows. I was really into rap when I was in high school, so there's just so much different type of it all kind of.
We're probably similar in age, pretty close, and I had my rap phase for sure. I still like some of it, but there was definitely that point.
Yeah, that all has to somehow come together to cause you to do what you love.
Absolutely.
To do,
well, getting back to San Diego, Sally. This is a really phenomenal song on the record, and it really has a spirit about it. Every time I listen to it, I can kind of picture the stories. I don't know the necessary background information in regards to the writing of it, but the cool thing about the way you write, and any great writer, is that it gives you the opportunity to sort of kind of build your own story around the props that you put in the scene, which is really neat. But first and foremost, like San Diego, Sally, is she real? Who is she? Where does she come from?
It's a made up character. It's sort of very loosely based on my family, my grandparents, who in the 50s and 60s moved from West Virginia, where, you know, these small coal mining towns, and oddly enough, both my mother and my father's parents had both moved to, at that time, I guess it was the thing to do. There were a lot of factory and industry type jobs in the Akron area. So,
Okay.
so a bunch of, you know, people at that time were moving, looking for jobs and looking to get out of the coal mining sort of jobs, and so it's sort of in the spirit of that, and I guess even autobiographical stuff that I write is has a lot of fiction in it. It's just the idea of sort of creating characters based on a memory that I have of, you know, when I was this age, or just pieces and parts that sort of you can bring together. So San Diego Sally is just, you know, just the idea of a relationship between two people, and it's, in this case, it's a brother and a sister. And
Okay.
the brother is in, you know, this small town, and he's coal mining, and his sister, you know, had aspirations and moved away, and you know, did
Which in particular, in the song, she moves to California.
Sure, yeah.
San Diego.
Yeah, yeah.
So why San Diego?
That's a good question. I have no idea.
I have no idea. Okay.
have
Would you
no
say
idea.
that in the fact that you put it, you're taking it from the angle of fiction, that just sort of seemed like the right place for the song?
Well, yeah, just in the idea of growing up in a small town, and just all these sayings and these ideas of, you know, people getting too big for their britches, and people making these decisions that are sort of above, you know.
The rest of the folks.
Yeah.
Or the idea of having to always go west young, whatever it is.
Yeah. And I got into these Irish crime novels, and it's interesting how it parallels with, you know, sort of the small West Virginia towns that I'm used to. The idea of sort of notions, people having notions, and like thinking themselves, you know, something different than what they are, and but also the sense of pride that, you know, people in a small town will have when somebody goes away and does something, and the way that they view that, and I guess, you know, moving away from home, away from family, and that type of thing, and the idea of wanting to, you know, accomplish something and make your family and friends proud of you, and
Sure.
So yeah, just creating a story about a relationship between two people who are, you know, sort of communicating and just talking about their personal day-to-day lives.
I think a lot of times songwriters, or just people in general, because it's a very accessible pool of emotion, have a tendency to write songs about sort of love type relationships.
Sure.
Or romantic love type relationships. I think it's very interesting that in this song, this is actually a love relationship that is, you know, brother sister, platonic in that way. You know, like it's not a romantic relationship. When you were sort of deriving this story, is there a reason why that made more sense to you to go in that route instead of maybe, you know, lost long love type thing, or separation in that sense?
I think maybe. Well, I have a lot of the other type songs that are probably more autobiographical, and so one thing being just trying to branch out from that and look at, you know, different relationships, and then I'm an only child, and so the idea of always, you know, wondering what it would be like to have a close relationship with you know, a sibling. So.
I think this is always the cool thing about being a songwriter or an artist of any kind. Visual artists do this all the time too, but it's really neat also when songwriters or artists do this, is you can actually live through these ideas in your head through the art. And so in this situation, it's like you're an only child. You don't necessarily know what it's like to have a full-blood sort of sibling of that kind, or have that grown relationship where you've sort of been raised together.
Sure.
But you can imagine, and you know plenty of people who do.
And if you can make it up, it's probably a lot better than the real thing.
Yeah, absolutely will. We all have special relationships with our siblings. When you were writing this song, was it one of those situations where it was like kind of music then lyric, or lyric then music, or was it a cohesive at the same time type of writing session?
Probably at the same time. I'm always recording little pieces and parts of melody ideas and guitar ideas, and I always have a notebook where I'm sort of scratching out lines, and so there may have been something, you know. It's chaotic. I'm not organized when it comes to it. There may have been something that sparked an idea, but I think the majority of the song is probably written with guitar and vocal and sort of writing at the same time.
Okay. What how much of the writing process do you lend to sort of those bursts of inspiration, in juxtaposition to like having a purpose and I'm going to make this song happen?
That happens occasionally. I wish it happened more often.
Which one? The burst of
inspiration.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
What happens more often is I have, again, like just, you know, some notebooks and lines and things that I've sort of wanted to say in the right context, or if the right sort of theme comes along, and then melodies and guitar ideas laid down, and just listening back to them and looking back over lines, and then when I do actually get an idea for a theme or that bit of inspiration that you get, I have somewhere to draw from other than just the immediate what I do now.
Yeah.
So
you kind of come from the school of sort of, you just accumulate thoughts and ideas and you start to see how they fit together and what they create.
Yeah, and I think I might be slow-witted. You and I tried to write together once, and your rapid fire ideas,
yeah,
which I'm jealous of, but I sort of have to.
That gets me in trouble sometimes.
Yeah. I have to collect and just there might even be a line or something I want to say that I'll write out different ways, and then eventually I'll find a place for it in the song.
Yeah.
So.
For you, it's more of it really, a lot of times it needs to simmer.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to sort of develop.
Yeah, I think so. I think maybe also sort of talking about the editing process. When I have had sort of the flows of inspiration where, you know, you write it out and it's done, it's difficult, or can be difficult for me to go back and say, well, what about this? This isn't quite right. But when I do it where I sort of draw from this and that, the editing process takes place. You know.
I guess sort of my last thing I wanted to touch on, which I think is unique to you, when you listen to the songs on the record, you're going to notice there's just a really rich, there's a lot of rich imagery in the song. It really lends itself to a literary perspective. How much do you read? How much is reading? What types of things do you read that it goes into you being the writer that you are?
I get on kicks where I'll read a lot, and then I go through periods where I don't have the attention span to pick up a book for a month, and so I read a lot of fiction. More fiction than anything else. I mean, I get every once in a while I'd be interested in sort of a biography or something, but usually it's been fiction. It's just a lot of different books, and I wouldn't be able to name off authors, but it's sort of like Southern type fiction in different time periods, and
but it definitely shows in your work. You can, I mean, a lot of these songs, literally you listen to them and it's like you can hear the movie. I can picture the cinematic theme of it, which, or the scenes and things. So that to me, you know, shows someone who's definitely well versed in storytelling or reading, and is just really good at the craft. So I think everybody, Nashville art makers, people who check us out, definitely check out Adam Burrows and his new record, Tall Tales, and buy it. He definitely wants you to buy it. It's great. It's absolutely worth it. I have a copy myself, and I want to thank Adam for sitting down.
Thank you.
And maybe in the future we'll talk about another one of your songs one of these days.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, everybody, and we will see you next time. All right. Bye.